Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Bailey.
Here.
Mr. Bateman.
Here.
Blair.
Here.
Mr. Hart.
Here.
Mr. Ori.
Here.
Vice Mayor Phelps.
Here.
Mr. Ping.
Here.
Welcome, everyone. We have a full house that I'm sure will be cleared out of here by about 17. With us tonight, we have our Director of Finance, Mark Medler, Assistant City Manager, Corey Wright, Clerk of Council, Misty Clark, City Manager, Dave Kennedy, City Solicitor, Joe Braun, Chief of Police, Michael Gabrielson, our, to look at it, Marketing and Communication Coordinator, Krista Rose. Former council members, Pat Mays and Todd Osborne, and many distinguished members of our police department. Thank you all for being here. And with that, Chief, meet me at the podium.
So today we are fortunate to welcome Ryan Wedmore as the newest Loveland police officer. I want to thank council, the mayor, city council, city manager, city staff for their continued support of the police department. Thank you very much. Ryan grew up locally in Mount Orab, Ohio, began his law enforcement career in 2009 working for the village of Mount Orab. 2010, he moved to the Brown County Sheriff's Office. He worked in corrections, was promoted to road patrol deputy in 2012, detective in 2018, where he investigated property and violent crime. 2019, he was promoted to road patrol corporal, and shortly thereafter to road patrol sergeant before joining us here at Loveland. Ryan is married to his wife, Sammy, who is a Ohio State Highway Patrol trooper. She's hiding back here. And they have two amazing daughters, Navy, wave, and Charlie. Hi, Charlie. Ryan he's just one more piece of our puzzle. He's an important addition to our staff as we strive to continue to provide outstanding service and to keep our community safe. So please help me welcome Ryan to Loveland. And we would have
So we're happy to have you join the city of Loveland. We like to do this because it's our opportunity to meet you and your opportunity to meet council members that otherwise, hopefully, you won't see us out on the road pulling us over. We try to avoid that. But and it's our opportunity to meet your family, and we are always look for opportunities to welcome members of our police department. We have strong supporters of our police department. We're very proud of our police department, and we're very happy to have you join us.
Thank you.
All right. Are you ready?
Yep.
I state your name.
Ryan Wedmore. I, Ryan Wedmore.
Thank you. It's a bad start. Solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Charter and ordinances
and the Charter
of the City of Loveland, and will obey the laws thereof, and will faithfully discharge the duties of police officer upon which I'm about to enter. Congratulations.
Thank you. That guy's cut. Yeah. I would like to thank the City of Loveland, the Loveland Police Department for giving me this opportunity. I want to thank my family for coming, and also I want to thank my wife for all the support during this process. I'm excited to serve a great community and meet everyone. Thank you.
honest. Welcome. Good to see you again. Thanks for joining.
Yes. 3 times.
Oh, this time we're going. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh. Get up. Joseph. So. Cute.
All right. Next on the agenda is a Louis G. Rockwood Community Service Volunteer Award presentation. Lisa Freeman, if you would join me, please. I believe Mr. Blair has something to read.
Lisa and her family moved to Loveland, their forever city, 18 years ago. Lisa has made volunteering a large part of her life, even prior to her move to Loveland, with involvements in Louisville, Bloomington, and Indianapolis, and then at both Cincinnati Public Schools and Loveland Public Schools, working with English as a second language students. Lisa takes Loveland to heart, literally. She has served on the Public Relations Committee, the Tree and Environment Committee, and 2 terms on the Parks and Recreation Board, where she has been chairperson. Not just by attending, Lisa has been a force in park evaluations, working on AED accessibility at all parks, promoting hiking, and cheerleading for our city's treasure, its park system for all to use. Lisa is involved with several other Loveland civic organizations as well. The Lewis Rockwood Volunteer Award salutes the pinnacle of city leadership through volunteerism. Our vote is encouraged to see Lisa added to the rich roster of Rockwood Award winners. I'm happy to lead that nomination.
And she won. Okay, congratulations.
I have to get my readers on because I'm a grandma now. There's a saying about how behind every great man, there's an even better woman. And I know my husband believes this. He's here tonight. Behind every volunteer, there's a collection of even greater people who make all things possible. I have a collection of random, odd friends who support my scathingly brilliant ideas, even when they probably shouldn't. They build on my ideas and they make them better, and I'm so grateful for all of you. We are very fortunate to live in Loveland, and it is my privilege to serve here, and this award really belongs to all of you. Thank you.
I'm going to get the other one out so it's ready. Yes, that would be great.
Okay, I won't. Thank you. Dr. Portman? Again, I'm a granny, so my glasses back on. I like to be the center of attention, so now I'm going to give an award. The Loveland Recreation Board is pleased to give the 2023 Stan McCoy Award to Dr. Douglas Portman. Dr. Portman is the founder of the Amazing Charity Race. Since its inception in 2005, the Amazing Charity Race has raised more than $700,000 and provided assistance to more than 20 charities in the greater Cincinnati area, including the Life Food Pantry, Loveland Stage Company, Loveland Initiative, Loveland Arts Council, Ohio Valley Voices, Loveland Robotics, and the Loveland Band Boosters. Dr. Portman has taken his passion for health and fitness and his passion for community and created a path that includes everyone. Not only are participants in the Amazing Race raising money for charities, they're doing so in completely goofy ways. Earlier this month, Dr. Portman had participants chasing leprechauns through Loveland in search of gold, which would solve an Irish riddle and then allow them to eat breakfast. On behalf of the City of Loveland, the Recreation Board thanks you for your service and devotion to our community and your sense of humor. It is with deep appreciation that we present you with the 2023 Stan McCoy Award. Congratulations.
If I could read your script again, because that's word for word what I was thinking. First of all, again, I like you said, behind every man is a great woman. I would like to thank my wife, Sandy, for putting up for this brain for all these years, for 28 years now, that comes up with these harebrained ideas, and she's like, okay, go ahead. So thank you for putting up with all that. But also I want to thank the Amazing Race team that's here and all our friends that come up and help me. And when I come up with these ideas and I'm like, listen, I got this idea, and then I see them kind of wince for a second, and then they're like, okay, I think I can do that. So without them, this is not possible. And without you guys letting me do this for all these years here, I just thank you all for letting me be a part of this community. I love it here. I love being a part of this community and all the stuff you have let me do through the years. And I really appreciate you all. Thank you all. Okay, here we go. Everybody, get them out.
I just think that was funny. Best. It does. Throws us off. Oh, there goes everyone. So,
All right, next we have open forum. We have Erica Riggle. Did I say that right?
To hear.
At the podium, please.
So public speaking is not my thing, so if you guys could bear with me, it's going to be great, I promise. My name is Erica Riggle. We've lived in Loveland almost 5 years. I have 2 boys at LPS right now, and my husband coaches lacrosse up at the high school. So I... sorry, I'm just a little nervous. I'm really glad half the people left before I came up here. So I'm here. My mom volunteers for a group in Florida, and their goal is to give birthday gifts to kids who live in homeless shelters, kids who shop at food pantries, things like that. And I thought to myself, that would be such a great thing to get my family involved in. Like, I have little kids, like we can understand. We can shop for birthday gifts. We understand birthdays. It's super important. After far too much Googling, I convinced my husband there is nothing like that in the area, so let's go for it and let's make it happen for these kids. Like, they get things for back to school and they get things for Christmas, but nothing to celebrate their special day. And all kids, I feel like, need to feel special on their day. So I started Tiger Birthday Bundle, and right now we are distributing through Life Food Pantry and the Nest Educational Center. I have an example of what we do. So everybody gets a bag. So if they are homeless and going from location to location, they can keep their things safe in there. The gifts are pretty simple. It's not hoverboards or the Switch games or anything. But like, one is a Frisbee, like a paint by number. We want everybody to have like a stuffed animal, so they have like a little buddy to go through things with them. And then just a book that's age appropriate, and like pencils, crayons, whatever, based on their age. And right now we do ages 1 to 5, 6 to 9, 10 to 12, and then teenagers are in the next group. So we break it up by age. And yeah, so right now we've distributed just over 100 bags. I got all of my paperwork with IRS done last year in June and started distributing in September through Life, and then in January with Nest. So in that time we've done 100. So I'm just here to share my idea and get used to talking to people about it, because obviously that's not my strong suit. And just get it out there and start sharing it. There's approximately 450 kids in the Loveland School District who fit this need, which is a lot of kids. And I would love to do this all by myself, but I can't do 450 birthday presents by myself every year. So just getting the word out there, and looking for people or organizations or different groups who want to help wrap presents or donate things, or businesses who want to donate, anything like that. So that's just, I'm here to share it and start getting it a little bit more momentum. So
Erica, if people do want to donate or help, how would they get a hold of you?
So I do have business cards with me. I don't know if that's okay to like leave them.
You have? Oh, okay.
Like back here, I don't know.
That's fine.
Okay. It does have a Venmo QR code and the Amazon wish list on the, and then all of my information as well.
Okay.
So, yes.
great.
All right. Anybody have any other questions or comments?
Thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love
That's awesome, Erica. Thank
It's
you.
really scary. Buying the birthday presents is actually scarier than doing the public speaking, because I don't want anybody to feel left out or shortchanged or anything like that. So I hope it makes everybody happy.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here and talking about it.
Thank you.
All right, next on the list is review and approval of minutes. Is there any comments or changes to the minutes?
Move to approve as written.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Ori?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Ping?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Carries 7-0.
All right, Mr. Kennedy, you want to talk about the first public hearing, local historic property designation?
So I'll just sort of combine the two. Within the city's historic preservation regulations, the city has the ability to request applications and go through what's called a local designation. Everyone's heard of national historic designations. There's also a state level. It's very common for communities to reach and work with owners, applicants of other structures within their community that have a special need, a special purpose, a special part of the history of the city. To this point in time, the city has the White Pillars Homestead, which speaks for itself, the Paxton Ramsey Cemetery, and the Hill Wagner. I don't know that you could handpick the next two best additions to that, which were the city has received applications for the Loveland Museum Center and the Works Restaurant. Both of those have their own unique history, but I will say both of them, if you look at how they are what they are today, is truly basically a labor of love between the Loveland Museum Center group and, of course, Scott and Jamie, and now Lance Sizemore with the Works. So the way the process works is not really simple, because the application gets submitted, it goes to our Historic Preservation and Planning Commission. They do a public hearing, they review the application, and ultimately, just like Corey comes with recommendations from the Planning Commission, I came to you and said the Historic Preservation Commission is recommending that both of these receive local designation. Then City Council set a public hearing, and then tonight is the public hearing. And if the council chooses to act on it tonight, there's legislation waiting for you. Both of these are very unique, and I don't want to take a whole lot of time, but both of the properties, starting with the Loveland Museum Center, 1862, pretty interesting if you look at it, that it originally started with 97 acres of land. Can you imagine owning 97 acres of land in Loveland right now? But it's interesting as it went through its different phases. It was actually owned and used by the Cincinnati Automobile Club in 1918. American Legion was utilizing it in 59. 64, actually, there were some thoughts of City Hall moving up to that area. And then ultimately, which is sort of funny, however, citizens strongly objected as they wanted it to remain in Old Loveland. That's sort of funny if you think about it. But and then in 1982, that's when we sort of gone full circle, and it was purchased by the Greater Loveland Historical. And correct me if I'm wrong, Dan and Jim and Jan, but basically it was about a year's worth of work up till 2 years till 1884 when it got opened as a museum. I won't go into a whole lot of the history of the individual ownerships, but the application was very, very complete, and it was really interesting to read about the different ownership. And if you look at some of the historic pictures all the way back to 1917, you sort of imagine what this building was like as a center. They actually had articles where people were writing about this structure after it was renovated, which I believe it was originally called the Bonaventure, correct? And so they've supplied the various sundry historic, and you can just sort of picture how much today it still looks as it was. This is 1982 when they first purchased it. And you can sort of see the amount of work that went into the Historical Society, this efforts to take care of that building. It is also located in one of the unique locations in this city, anchored by a funeral home that is meticulously kept, and an area that I think is extremely neat in this city, that whole West Loveland Historical District. So this was the application. It was 85, a year after they renovated. I mean, all you got to do is look at that to realize how much work and effort was put into it to create what it is today. So this is the final work. This is the most recent photo which was submitted. So that is the Loveland Museum Center. representatives are here if you had any question. Other features on that property, of course, it wasn't too long ago. We were all there for the honor roll, World War II honor roll that is there, located on the property. Of course, the Bishop Coleman gazebo and the Rich Log cabin. And then this is one of the permanent exhibits, the Bonaventure exhibit. So the works is sort of unique and more of a commercial standpoint. I think the Loveland Museum Center, in its early days up till the Automobile Club, it really sort of represented residential living in Loveland. And the works sort of represents how important the railroads were to this city, what they meant. Henry Hubble, who designed the works, actually also designed Cincinnati Music Hall. And if you read back in February 4th, 1905, City Council granted them exclusive use of the city streets to create a water system. And being relatively smart and knowing that trains were driving by at a relatively rapid clip, this was the same time we moved into the steam engines, and they then were able to capitalize on that and supply the water for the steam engines as they went by. Obviously, as it went through different points in time, including being the city's public works building, thus the name. It converted into the Works Restaurant in 2003, the patio edition in 2020. And if you haven't seen what Lance has completed inside, wonderful addition. But the neat thing is the arches still stay, the character still stays. You can still see what the building was used. I don't know that we could have handpicked it any better. So just a couple. Of course, the rail car was added in 2011, and I believe the current owner of the restaurant has got some plans for the exterior of that building. This is some recent completed interior restorations to the building, and then this is just sort of the existing plaque and a couple of the historic views. Of course, any view of that building would have been from the railroad because that's really what it was all about. That's all I had. I just, if the city chooses to do that, one of the things the Historic Preservation Commission took a lot of time in doing was designing a plaque. And it is really an impressive thing. We get those made in-house in town through Tuff Schildmeyer's. A lot of time went into this because this would be one of those things that you hope never changes. That this plaque that was handed to the White Pillars Homestead 3 years ago is proudly now at the Paxton Ramsey Cemetery, is something that homes for years will get without any modification. It is a beautiful artifact, and to this point in time, I can't speak for future, the city pays all expenses associated with that. So we're pretty excited, and I don't know that you could have the next two perfect properties because of what they mean to the city as a whole. Nothing to take away from a residential structure and how it's been preserved, but commercial and residential. So that's all I have. Sorry.
All right, and I do want to thank Heather and Tasha for being here from the Works, and Jim Grethel, who you are the president of the board, right, of the Museum Center, Jan Beller, obviously the executive director, and all of you are very, very involved with the. Are you all on the board? All of you? Yes. So thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. Did he leave anything out? Is there anything we need to say? Anything you all need to add? All right. Yes, Vice Mayor.
Does the designation for the works include the rail car?
Ironically enough, that the rail car received its own designation back in 2000 and 2011. The city designated the rail car separately. Tom Carroll prepared that and brought that in, so it already technically is the first designated structure. So I correct that, and maybe we can talk to Lance about a separate plaque for that. But it was when it was brought in. That was brought to the city, and it was designated as a historic structure. So,
okay. So why don't we do the hearing, the public hearing, and then we'll, I think, talk about it now because everybody's here. We are going to vote on this a little later on the agenda. It's kind of early in the agenda. Just a few things in between. If you want to wait for that, don't have to. You can always leave whenever you want to. I don't have to sit here for the whole thing. But we do have to do a public hearing on the local historic property designation. Could someone open that, make a motion to open the public hearing?
Move to open the public hearing.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Ori?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Ping?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
No one signed up. Can we have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close the hearing.
Or second. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Ori?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Ping?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Mayor Bates.
Oh, yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. All right. Does anybody have any commentary, any questions, comments about making one or both of these, designating them as historic properties? Mr. Bates?
I'm just grateful for both properties and the diligence that they took to take out the application. I think one of the things that this does, of course, Mr. Kennedy, great job presenting these two cases. I think historic property designations on the works and the Loveland Museum Center brings a lot of these back into the downtown and raises awareness of this program, as well as the historic significance of the two buildings. I have a lot of personal history with both of these, and in many cases, there's a lot of folks from this community or visiting this community that say, I had no idea this was here. I had no idea this was so historic. So I think putting this front and center allows folks to see that significance for themselves. And again, kudos to the applicants for recognizing the value of this program and a lot of the benefits that it brings to not only our community, but their enterprises as well.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes, Mr. Hart.
I would just say that I think that I support doing both of these. I think that as the city continues to grow and the city continues to modernize and more people move in, continuing to celebrate the history of the city and paying homage to the people that have been here for a long time, the families that have been here for a long time, the work they've done, and the work that's gone into these particular structures is incredibly important. Just in maintaining the feel of this town that everybody loves, the tight-knit, tight, close, small town feel that everybody loves. Everybody moves here for the quaintness of downtown. All of that goes back to the history that has been created by the people who have lived here for centuries.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yeah, I would agree. We don't have very many historic seams, buildings, homes, structures left. So I'm really grateful for the ones that we do have and for the owners that have them, that are taking care of them and keeping them restored and as beautiful as they are. So thank you for that. And we certainly should be celebrating all the ones that we do have left anyway. All right. Okay. We'll give them a pass. We'll give them a pass this time. All right. All right. We'll vote on that a little bit later on. We do have then another public hearing. This is on the community entertainment. What summary do we not need to do that?
I can do it in front of the resolution, or we can save time. I won't have to do it later. This is the city's second community entertainment district. We're calling it Loveland South. It basically goes from Cottonwood down to, for everybody's reference, Starbucks area. And CEDs are very simple. They, in a community like Loveland, we've maxed out our liquor license. So if new business wants to come into town, they have to Trex in a license that ranges typically around $30,000. A community entertainment district D5, which is specifically within that number, within those boundaries, will take that down to $2,300. So it does a couple things. It helps entice new entertainment style businesses, but it also allows, it also shows the commitment of the city. So we have an existing community entertainment district. And when we started looking at the area around Cottonwood, all the way down to the area beyond where the car sales is, we sort of felt like, while not vacant, receptions is vacant, We feel that it's an underutilized area that is only a half a mile from 275. And we felt that by creating this community entertainment district, which is 23.917 acres, which means that equates to 4 new liquor licenses available, we feel like we're sort of showing that area is open for business. This is not a DORA. This doesn't change any liquor laws. It just helps the city show to the people that we mean business about creating hospitalities in that area. I think in this city felt strongly enough about this that we actually owned some land out in the township that was adjacent to this, because you have to own land to submit the application. And I submitted the application. We annexed that piece of vacant property into the city to accommodate this. That made us a landowner inside the district. So we felt that that was pretty important to do, and a half a mile away from 275. So unlike other tax incentives that Corey and I work on, and nobody knows them like he does, this is one of these programs that, quite frankly, school districts like, fire like, because there's no impact on taxing agencies, so they like them. It's simply a perk that's waiting. It can sit stagnant for a while. Corey and I just had an inquiry about a CED, about a license within CED number 1.
All right, thank you. All right, can we have a motion to open that public hearing?
Motion to open public hearing on the Loveland South Community Entertainment District.
Or second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Ori?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
There are no one signed up. Can we have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close public hearing.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Ping?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Ori?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right, we have second readings of ordinances. You want to go ahead and read the first one?
Ordinance amending Chapter 1107 definitions, Chapter 1111 enforcement, Chapter 1156 table of permitted uses, and Chapter 1165 general zoning regulations of the codified ordinances of the City of Loveland, Ohio.
All right, we had this all explained at the last meeting. Does anybody have any comments or questions on this ordinance? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Ping?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Ori?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Ordinance 31 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
All right, can you read the next ordinance, please?
Ordinance creating Section 351.20 of the codified ordinances of Loveland.
All right, this is another one we've already discussed. Anybody have any comments or questions on this ordinance? Call the roll, please.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Ori?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Ping?
Yes.
Ordinance 32 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Read the next ordinance, please.
An ordinance amending Section 131.01 codified ordinances of Loveland.
All right, any comments or questions on that ordinance? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Ori?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Ping?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Ordinance 33 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
All right, can you read the next ordinance, please?
Ordinance amending the employment agreement to increase the annual compensation of City Manager David Kennedy.
Is there anything anybody would like to say about this ordinance? Mr. Hart?
I will just say that we're very lucky to have Mr. Kennedy working in this city. I think the increase in salary is more than appropriate, and look forward to continuing to work with him for as long as he would like to stay.
Thank you. Mr. Ori?
Same thing. I'd like to thank Dave for his continuing to support and lead the city along with us here at council, but more than he can do. I mean, he just does a great job. We surely appreciate it.
Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Blair.
I want to express my appreciation for his leadership and his mentorship, and the way he deftly handles the community, the way he herds this pack of cats on a regular basis. and keeps us on the straight and narrow. It's a pleasure to work with and know you every day.
Anyone else? Vice Mayor?
I think Mr. Kennedy would maybe not ever admit this, but Dave, I think we all are doing this because you indeed are worthy of it.
Mr. Bateman?
Thanks. Dave, thank you so much. The citizens, what you do for everybody in the city, we're so lucky to have you. And so thanks for all the work that you've done and continue to do. And we look forward to more support from you to our great community going forward. So thank you.
All right. Yes, Mr. Peng?
The last time we went over this, I couldn't find the email, so I had to go back and look. But just as a reminder of an email we received, council received earlier this year from one of the residents talking about extolling how wonderful our city manager is, and how his willingness to respond to emails from the public and the speed with which it responded, and the early hour of one email and the late hour of another, and the dedication of a public servant and so forth, and just went on and on. I won't read the whole thing, but that is something that makes it very easy to vote yes on an ordinance like this, because it is so clear that we have a great person in this position.
Thank you all. I obviously would echo all that. At least for the time I've been here, Dave's been the only city manager I've worked with, but I think lives and breathes the city, his enthusiasm for the city, and he really makes our jobs easier by being that first line with members of the public, and he's never shy, never afraid to talk to them, and generally, after he has explained something that we're doing, they walk away. Maybe they don't like it, but they understand it, and he takes the time to do that. But brings so much more to the position. The ability to supervise the staff that you have, the ideas that you bring to us, the things that are happening in this city are largely because of coming from Mr. Kennedy's brain as to where the city should be going. So we are very grateful as a council to have you. Very lucky to have you. We know that. Thank you for all that you do.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Did we read the resolution yet? We did read it, right?
Yes, we did.
We did. Okay. So let's call the roll.
Mr. Blair,
You bet.
Mr. Hart,
Absolutely.
Mr. Ori,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps,
Yes.
Mr. Ping,
Yes.
Mayor Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Bateman.
Yes.
Ordinance 34 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
All right. For Mr. Kennedy.
Thank you.
You're so easy to. All right. You can read the next or the first resolution, please.
Resolution designating the Loveland Museum Center as a locally historic listed property.
All right. Does anybody have any further comments on that? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Hart,
Yes.
Mr. Ori,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps,
Yes.
Mr. Ping,
Yes.
Mayor Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Bateman,
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Resolution 35 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
All right. Read the next resolution.
Resolution designating the works as a local historically listed property.
Any further comment on that? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Ori,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps,
Yes.
Mr. Ping,
Yes.
Mayor Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Bateman,
Yes.
Mr. Blair,
Yes.
Mr. Hart.
Yes.
Resolution 6 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
All right. Again, thank you. Do you want to use this opportunity to file out, or do you want to stay? You're welcome to stay. But in case you're afraid to disrupt us,
Thank you.
but thank you for being here for this. Appreciate it. You're welcome. Tell Lance thank you. Thank you, Tasha. What's that? Yeah, for real. All right, why don't we go ahead and read the next resolution?
Resolution approving the creation of the Loveland South Community Entertainment District in the City of Loveland pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 4301.80.
All right, so after all of these steps, this is we're finally doing it, right? This is the final.
Yes, council has 75 days from the day that the mayor handed you the application, which was February 28th. So you have till May 14th to vote on this, and then Corey and I will get the application submitted to the Ohio Division of Liquor Control. If there's any errors, we'll bring them back.
All right. Does anybody have any questions, comments on this resolution?
I do.
Yes.
I'm just a little confused about there's a lot of industry jargon, I guess you could call it, around liquor licenses. So I'm just to be clear, could you is the same thing as a Trex and a DJ5? Are they the same thing?
Yeah. So a D5 liquor permit is a standard liquor permit. They just call them DJ5s to designate it separately, as it is very exclusive just within that boundaries. You could not get, you can only get these D5s, the J's, within the boundaries. And this particular one, based upon the size, the acreage, it is 4. If you recall the other one we did, there was 9. So the difference is that a Trex is the process where an underutilized, if you would close Fred's Pony Keg, I'm just making this up. Fred knows that there's some value to the liquor license. And Fred can sell those. It can be through a Trex project. Trex is an economic development transfer. We sign those on we will sign those and authorize those, but those are in the 30,000.
But that relies on someone in the system essentially putting their liquor license up for availability inside that Trex system.
No, anywhere in the state of Ohio.
That's what I mean. Anywhere in the state of Ohio. So it's subject to availability. And the D5J is just the type of license that we're able to get within
those 4.
Okay.
Yes. To be, you cannot get a liquor license in downtown Loveland without Trexing it, because we do not have a CED in there. Because if you look at the list, one of the requirements for having a CED is that there's another one within the county. Sharonville has one, so we were able to start with them. There's not one in all of Claremont County. So if you can't meet it by being an adjacent, so the people in downtown has to pay the 30. But as you know, Corey's leading the charge to completely revitalize Loveland Madeira Road. Having this as a carrot is what we're doing.
Okay, that was my only question for clarification. Thank you,
Mr. Hart.
This just popped in my head as I was listening to you talk. So, could somebody does the J prohibit somebody from purchasing the liquor license and then putting it up to be Trexed out somewhere else?
Yes.
So could I make money on that? So if I bought put the liquor license for $1,200, could I then sell it for $30,000 somewhere else?
No, because it can only be used within the boundaries.
Okay. So, that makes sense.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Read the resolution, please.
I think I've already read it.
Joe said we didn't.
I
didn't think we did.
Okay, I marked it off. I'll do it again. Resolution approving the creation of the Loveland South Community Entertainment City of Loveland, pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 4,301.80.
I don't know why you read that twice. All right. Any comment on the resolution? There is a red line at the table just because it had 1800s, 1880s.
Doesn't need an amendment.
Correct. All right. Call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor Phelps.
Yes.
Mr. Ping.
Yes.
Mayor Bailey.
Yes.
Mr. Bateman.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Mr. Hart.
Yes.
Mr. Ori.
Yes.
Resolution 37 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
All right. I'll explain the next 2 resolutions. We are, members, the Ohio Municipal League, which essentially is a lobbying group, lobbies on behalf of villages and cities in the state of Ohio. They also keep us informed of actions that are happening at our state legislature. Periodically, they put out sort of a call to action for the cities and villages that are part of the Ohio Municipal League to pass resolutions that they provide to us when they believe that it's an issue that perhaps if we get enough villages and cities that do that and let our legislature and our representatives understand that we all are on the same page and have the same view of a particular issue, that perhaps we could see some change and some positive change for our city. So these are 2 of those such issues. The first is a resolution that urges the state and federal government, the appropriate entities in each, to look at enacting legislation that will further protect citizens of our city from trains that are passing through our city in light of the 2 recent derailments. I guess the thought being that there isn't enough regulation and that perhaps cities and villages in this state are not well enough aware of what is actually coming through our state, our areas. The second is a resolution urging the governor in the General Assembly to restore the local government fund to the level that it had been. It has been halved as of, I believe, 2011, I think. And we've talked about the local government fund just about every year in some respect or another. So we would certainly love to see that number brought back up to what it had been before Governor Kasich decimated it to restore the state's budget. So that's what those two resolutions are. So let's read the first one and then we can talk about that one.
Resolution urging the legislative branches of the federal government as well as the state of Ohio to enact legislation to further protect the citizens of the city of Loveland, Ohio from inherent dangers of a train derailment on the tracks located in the city.
All right. Are there any comments, questions on this resolution? Mr. Blair.
I have comments. I will support the second resolution, but I wish to object to this resolution and will vote against it, as I believe that it's beyond the scope of our responsibilities, that nothing will come of it, and that it sets a precedent that may come back to bite us. The 7 members of this Loveland community who were chosen to serve this city as city council are tasked with certain mandates. We're charged to do our very best to listen to the community's needs and concerns when it comes to roads, sewers, water, policing, fire protection, local infrastructure, zoning, parks, local events and celebration, general community betterment, and prudent management of finances. That's a lot, but that's pretty much it. While we all have opinions on all kinds of other issues, those issues are not part of our mandate. We don't take positions on school curriculum, gun issues, reproductive rights, or daylight savings time. Others may want us to, but it serves us no good to do so. And you know what? That's a good thing. That's why this council runs as well as it does, focusing on our mandates and staying away from stuff we can't do anything about. Oh, sure, we have considerable disagreements amongst ourselves and often with some parts of the community. But those disagreements are about things within our control. They have to be. The further afield we go from our mandates sets us up for demands to support this or condemn that, none of which we can do anything about, and will foster chaos that we don't want. Everyone wants safe railroads. The city of Loveland can't legislate anything about that. Railroad's going to railroad. Everyone wants our kids to get home safe every day from school. Beyond locked doors, barricades, SROs, and active shooter drills, which we already do, we can't do anything about that either. The gun lobby's going to lobby. It's not our mandate. You know who can? Voters. We elect Ohio State House and federal representatives and senators who can enact what we cannot. They should hear directly from the voters who sent them there. Those kinds of issues are within their mandates. Believe me, the railroads know this. The gun lobby knows this. Both sides of the abortion debate know this. The book banners, rainbow warriors, bathroom police, flat earthers, and fortune tellers all have their place. For us as a council to weigh in on issues like this only sets false expectations that we cannot meet, nor should we. Thank you, Mayor Bailey.
Any further comment or questions? Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't disagree more with Councilman Blair insofar as truly this is the height of public safety and community safety that's involved here. And I know East Palestine is a lot like Loveland, and I would hate to be East Palestine and have it undergo what could happen in any community. Granted, there is no mandate that we have to do this, but resolutions are passed all the time to affirm or encourage or set as aspiration things that we want to see in our city. And I would like to see greater safety. I know our elected officials, I think both U.S. senators, are working on legislation. And for a situation like this, I see no reason not to support that and call for it and go on the record. Also, you know, the Ohio Municipal League doesn't ask every day for us to consider resolutions. And even if there have been some that we didn't bring to the table. I feel this one is more than worthy of it.
Any further comment, Mr. Hart?
I actually agree in large part with what Mr. Blair's brought up in terms of staying in our lane for better or for worse here. But I think in this particular instance, this is unlike things like the abortion argument, where we actually have a railroad running right through the center of our town. So there is actually this, to me, in this particular instance, there is some pertinence to this urging. I do feel like we should stay in our lane in a lot of cases, but I feel like because of our proximity to a railroad and the danger that it could have there, I feel like this urging does in this particular case make good sense.
Thank you, Mr. Bateman.
I'll just kind of weigh in on this as well. I think I agree with Mr. Phelps in that the Ohio Municipal League is an organization that's there to sort of look after the best interests of cities and municipalities like Loveland. And for them to represent their group with a request like this sort of shows that the most vulnerable in these instances are the small cities that are experiencing and impacted by a disaster like what happened and what has happened in other places in Ohio since the big news item of East Palestine. So I think that being vulnerable to something, you need to stand up and say, help us figure this out. I think we can't figure it out, to your point, Mr. Blair. We don't have the authority to regulate the railroads, but we need to raise our hand and say, someone help us make sure that this doesn't happen and put up the safeguards so that we really can't put up ourselves. And I think that's what we're really asking to do here with this resolution. So I support it.
Thank you. Mr. Ori?
I'm not going to repeat everything that Mr. Hart and Mr. Bateman just said, but I totally agree with what they've said. I think this is we're urging, we're not enacting law, we're making the railroad, kiss our behinds. We're asking our legislators to make something come up and enforce it.
Thank you. My feeling on it is exactly that, because it is something that is not in our lane. It is something that we cannot control. We have these trains coming through our city, and we have no control over how that happens and what they're bringing to our city. We need to rely on others to do that, and that's the point of this. Pay attention and please help us, because we cannot do this ourselves, and we want to make sure that our city and our citizens are safe. So that's why I will certainly support this resolution. All right, why don't you go ahead and call the roll?
Mr. Ping?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
No.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Ori?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Resolution 38 is adopted by a vote of 6-1.
Read the next resolution, please.
Resolution urging the Ohio Governor and members of the Ohio General Assembly to restore the local government fund to pre-recession level.
Any questions or comments on this resolution? Call the roll, please.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Ori?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Ping?
Yes.
Resolution 39 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Mr. Wright?
Thank you, Mayor Bailey. This evening, I have a resolution before council, which, if adopted, would authorize the city manager to execute an agreement to procure the replacement lighting, which will be decorative, along the West Loveland Avenue Bridge, in conjunction with the renovation project being advanced by Hamilton County, Claremont County, and the city. As you know, throughout the past year, Hamilton County has been working to finalize the design plans on the bridge, West Loveland Avenue Bridge, and it includes decorative railing, sidewalk. As Mr. Kennedy noted, the asphalt sidewalk that has weathered the test of at least one winter will get replaced, and we'll get some new railing. And part of that, too, was decorative lighting. To advance this component, the city included $25,000 in the annual operating budget to replace the existing Cobra head fixtures and outdated light poles, which are really functionally obsolete at this time. So as part of that, we had to evaluate the bridge replacement, the scheme that they were going to advance there, what the scope of the renovations were, and we had some challenges. We had to preserve
the opportunity to have the electric receptacles on the poles. We had to work with the existing light pedestals. We had to work with kind of the design constraints of the existing structure. And so we also wanted to seek a product that would improve the aesthetic and replicate or at least complement the historic downtown and some of the fixtures that are there, and also achieve light pollution reduction and glare mitigation measures. So with that, the city identified black type A decorative poles. The height will be 27 feet high, and a Sanibel fixture, which the photo of the fixture is indicated on packet page 18. That's a great representation of what the installation will look like. These will be 150 watt LED, 3000 K color temperature, which is a warmer light as opposed to a traditional cooler light. And so, part of this is about putting our best foot forward. Law and Ordinance has worked very diligently on a proposed ordinance, lighting ordinance, which we'll be bringing to City Council, I believe, at the next meeting for just kind of to transmit that once we get it all buttoned up with the conversion from red line to clean. And then, looking at that, what does this do? Well, this achieves glare reduction. It is a low glare, low backlight, no uplight fixture with the dome on the fixture and the LED recess. So you'll get a little bit of light wash on the sidewalk and with the mast arm on the pavement there. So you'll achieve good light, but not oversaturation and not wasted light. The cost of this, Duke Energy offers communities a number of options. You could either pay for it as a lump sum purchase, or you can amortize that over a period of numerous options, several years or whatever. And so for a lump sum, in this instance, since the city programmed this, the lump sum cost would be $16,849.29. If you amortize this over, say, the longest term, which is 10 years, you would be looking at a cost of more than $26,000. So I would note that this does not include the electrical components. Duke Energy advances it separately. That total cost is less than $1,600 to install those fixtures. Those electrical fixtures cost about $1 a month to operate. The LEDs will cost about $28 to operate a month. So really energy efficient fixtures. And, at the end of the day, we're sort of limited with what we can pick from Duke Energy. They offer you, so many options, and this really was the best option that achieves all of those objectives. So, council can approve the legislation as presented. You can elect to, approve the fixture selection and finance it. Wouldn't recommend that. It's considerably more costly, and we program the money to do that as a lump sum. And finally, you could reject the legislation to select a different fixture, tell us to go back to the drawing board, or whatnot. So with that, I recommend approval of the legislation as submitted.
All right. Any comments or questions? Yes, Mr. Hart.
Two quick questions. One, just in terms of the financing, is there any benefit at all to financing that over any period?
Based on the agreement that they presented, every financed, you could pay it monthly. If you went over a 1 year, if you pay it monthly, you incur about $1,100 in additional expense for the 1 year agreement over the lump sum agreement. For example, if you go 5 years, you're looking at about almost $4,000 more. If you go 10 years, you're looking at over $9,000. So, it's really about, if you don't have the money programmed and you're just going to do it, then it may make sense to absorb it on a monthly basis. It's kind of out of sight, out of mind. But since it's programmed, certainly this is the most cost-effective measure in that. So,
any benefit at all? I saw your face kind of twitch a little bit.
For the amount, I don't think it's really worth spreading it out.
That's kind of what I thought. Okay. And then two, do you know about how much we're spending ballpark right now? Is it $28.62 to run these things?
Oh, actually, we're not really sure, because the poles we found out during the due diligence that the poles were Duke Energy poles somehow, that they put them in and then they were modified
with electrical receptacles sometime in last generation, which apparently was an unauthorized modification, and so we had to take the cameras and things off of that. And so with that, Duke Energy respectfully told us that they would not be financing the fixtures in the future. So if you want the lights, this is how you're going to do that. So I would say if we had those lights now, they would be considerably more expensive because they're the old technology. So
thank you.
All right, anyone else? Question? Yes, Mr.
Just curious the number. This gets us 3.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just thinking, why isn't it an even number, like 2 on each side of the bridge, or is it just by the nature of the size of the flood that 3 covers the span?
Well, so we talked to Duke Energy about that too, and really one of the design constraints was the existing lighting pedestals are going to be preserved on the bridge. And so that would have been extraordinarily expensive to modify the bridge or to add pedestals to the other side. And so we looked at a fixture and a pole height that would achieve, reasonable saturation and then not also blast, look like an airport runway. So that's really what drove that, is the need to you got to keep the mounting places, the locations where they are.
All right. And then you mentioned the Law and Ordinance Committee, and indeed, we've learned a lot about the quality of lighting, and there's good lighting and there's bad lighting, and you have to be intentional about it, and there's a science to it. And so I'm pleased to see that these are lights that take advantage of the features and the technology that exists to avoid light pollution, if you will. And so in a way, the city's sort of leading by example on this, and I think it's great.
Any other comments, questions? All right, read the resolution, please.
Resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an outdoor lighting agreement with Duke Energy for the replacement of street lighting on the West Loveland Avenue Bridge.
All right, any comment on the resolution? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Hart? Mr. Ori?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Ping?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Resolution 40 is adopted by a vote of 7-0.
Mr. Wright?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a second item here. This is the Chimney Ridge subdivision, Section 2, sewer main extension property assessments. So if you recall, council levied assessments on the first phase of Chimney Ridge. At that time, there were, I believe it was 23 parcels and a remainder parcel. The memo goes into great detail about why we have to do what we have to do, but the remainder parcel basically is no more, and it will be no more as of the 2024 tax year. So with that, this gives us an opportunity to fix these assessments on the remaining 7 lots. There is a slight adjustment on the assessment, so the lots in Section 2 will pay about 24 cents more per year than the lots in Section 1. Just when we looked at the numbers, we wanted to make sure we got full recoupment of the city's actual costs. So what we did is basically what you will be doing, affixing new assessments on these new lots, which will be effective in tax year 24, due in 25. Concurrently, the assessment on the remainder disappears by virtue of the legislation, and then this goes on for 18 additional years because you've already collected the first 2 years of the assessment with the remainder parcels. So with that, we're going to be all squared away, and 18 years from now, we'll have collected the full amount.
All right, any questions or comments on that? All right, it is a first reading only. Go ahead and read the ordinance, please.
Ordinance assessing sewer main extension costs associated with Section 2 of the Chimney Ridge subdivision located in Warren County, Ohio.
Thank you. Mr. Braun?
As you'll recall, Mayor, we have a rule here in the city of Loveland that if we're selling, purchasing, or giving an interest in land, that we do that through ordinance approved by City Council. As part of the East Loveland Avenue Bridge project, the bridge, as Cindy would tell me, extends just a little bit longer than the old bridge. And so we need to grant the Claremont County Board of Commissioners an easement since the bridge will encroach on our property a little bit more. This is a permanent easement. And because this is a permanent easement for this bridge, we are crafted some legislation authorizing that permanent easement to be granted to Claremont County. related to the reconstruction of the bridge. I would also remind you that we have significant amounts of grant money and money also coming from the county and the state to fund this project. So we're heavily invested in it, and this permanent easement is just a part of that project.
All right. Are there any comments or questions on this ordinance? My understanding is we need to set a public hearing as well.
That's correct, for the second reading.
And also, it doesn't say it in the title of the ordinance, but you do say in section 3 that this ordinance is hereby declared to be an emergency measure. So can you explain what we're doing here?
So, yes, I will explain that. Thank you. We are going to declare an emergency when we approve it on the second reading, not for the purpose of having one reading, because that'll have been a second reading. But remember that declaring something an emergency affects when it goes into effect. And what we want to be able to do is, after the second reading, begin to get all the easement documents drafted, signed, and get those recorded so that it won't slow down the project, which is slated to begin this summer. If we were to wait the extra 30 days, we'd be, just in our opinion, running a little close.
All right. Any questions on that? All right. Why don't you want to do a motion to set the public hearing first? You want to make that?
It would be the next council meeting,
yeah.
April 11th.
Okay, I'll move to set a public hearing on April 11th on or about 7 p.m. For purposes of the ordinance authorizing the city manager to grant a permanent easement to the Board of Commissioners of Claremont County related to the reconstruction of the East Loveland Avenue Bridge.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Ori?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Payne?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right. We'll go ahead and read the ordinance, please.
Ordinance authorizing the city manager to grant a permanent easement to the Board of Commissioners of Claremont County related to the reconstruction of the East Loveland Avenue Bridge.
All right. Thank you. As far as, there are some minutes. Does anybody have any comments on those? Mr. Braun?
Actually, I have a staff report that I'd like to add to the agenda because it's just today.
Sure.
I wanted to advise City Council that my office, and by virtue of my office, Dave's office, have been getting multiple notifications over the past few days that there are additional opioid settlements that are taking place and being proposed in the state of Ohio. For example, yesterday we received one for CVS, Walgreens, and Walmart, as well as Teva and Allergan, who are manufacturers of opioids. As a result of that, though, they're requiring under very tight deadlines that the city either authorize participation and execute documents so that we can get those back to the court and know if we're going to be participating. I'll remind you that in 2021, there was an Ohio opioid settlement that you authorized Dave to execute on behalf of the city and participate in. I anticipate additional settlements based on other lawsuits that I know that have been filed. So I was going to ask council tonight if they would be willing to make a verbal motion authorizing the city solicitor and the city manager to evaluate and authorize city participation in future opioid settlements.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Any idea on how many dollars in this?
The reason that they have such short timelines for us to opt in and opt out is that typically there's a pot of money, and depending on how many people opt in or opt out, that number changes. So ultimately, though, I will tell you, we will report back to council as we get final settlement documents. But what I don't want to have happen, because I never like to commit the city to anything, and I know Dave doesn't either, unless we know we have your authority. This will allow us to take advantage of those, and then I can report back to you the types of money. I can tell you that it has varied. Some of them have been, Mark, you may remember, one of them was not very lucrative because it was spread out over 15 years, and some have been less. But I think it varies. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? All right, call the roll, please.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Ori?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Phelps?
Yes.
Mr. Ping?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Anybody else have any reports to make? All right, we do have city offices will be closed on Friday, April 7th for Good Friday. Loveland's second annual tree giveaway kicks off on April 10th. City will be giving away 200 trees to Loveland residents. Up to 2 trees per household can be requested via an online reservation form on the city's website. Requests will be accepted until all trees are reserved. Trees will be available for pickup in October, and residents are responsible for planting and caring for the trees on their own. All right. We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second? Call the roll, please.
Yeah.
Mr. Ori. Mr.
Yes.
Ori. Vice Mayor Phelps.
Yes.
Mr. Ping. Yes. Mayor Bailey.
Yes.
Mr. Bateman.
Yes.
Don't forget.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Mr. Hart.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.